Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome back to another fabulous week of English 101. This week we are turning in our Project 2 Trial by Media essay. I am so excited to see how these ideas come together for you guys. It's a really interesting prompt, at least to me. Hopefully you found it interesting as well. The concept of how intertwined some of our constitutional rights are is really interesting because you have the concept of free speech meshing with this concept of the Sixth Amendment, and how do we have both? How do we do that, right? It's tricky. So it's great to see how your ideas are coming together, particularly with the cases that we're working with on this Project 2 essay, seeing how people go through our justice system and have to navigate this really tricky thing of how do you have an unbiased jury in this crazy new age we live in where there's just constant information bombardment from all kinds of sources. So a very apropos question as we continue forward in this brave new world of social media, of 24-hour news cycles, of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and everything else that there is that's giving us places to look for information, whether it's good information or bad information, remains to be seen, of course. But how does that translate into how our judicial process works? Everything is connected, so it's very interesting. I'm looking forward to reading these essays. I did give you guys an extra day. I hope that you read through the announcements there. Last week was bonkers, folks, wasn't it? Just a little crazy. So I don't know if you needed a mental health day. I needed one, just to kind of pull life together again and let go of some stress, some anxiety, to be fully present for you as I was grading your essays and as I was designing our next unit, making sure that you're getting the very best from me. And I wanted to give you that time so that I can get the very best from you in your Project 2 essays. So you'll see that the final due date for that essay was moved to Tuesday, just to give you a little extra room to work and think and process. So that essay is due tomorrow at midnight. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. And then we are just going to truck on ahead into Project 3. Now, this is probably just exciting news for all of you. Project 3 is our last major project of the quarter. Woohoo! You are 2/3 of the way done with the big work after you turn in Project 2. Gotta feel good. Take a moment, pat yourself on the back, do a little dance around your computer, whatever, gives that cathartic release. Hooray, we're getting close. You guys are rock stars. So in our next project, we are going to talk about bias, another topic that relates closely with justice, which is kind of our overarching theme for the term, and plays nicely into the world today. Justice is something that is very important, and so we want to see how bias might impact people's ability to get justice. As we saw in Trial by Media, people can be swayed even before they know a case. What we're talking about here in Project 3 is how bias instigates events. And as we're looking at this prompt, and as we're looking at our case list, you'll see that most of these events are quite tragic ones, because bias is a very powerful motivator, as we know. So if you take a look at the case list, and I've got a recording talking about the case list and all that's posted in the modules, we'll check that out in a minute. But you'll see there is the case of the Pulse nightclub shooting, which was a case of very strong bias against a certain group of people. In the Pulse nightclub shooting, it was anti-LGBTQ kind of bias that motivated a gunman to go in and kill so many folks. I've got some church shootings on that list where it was racial bias motivating a person to go into a church and shoot a prayer group. There is a case on there that's anti-Semitic bias where someone went into a synagogue and shot people there. So bias is something that can have very tragic kind of consequences. And all that sounds like such a downer, like as if we need another downer in this year of pandemics and social unrest. But the great thing that psychologists, neuropsychologists, behavioral psychologists are finding about bias is that it's malleable. And that's exciting, guys, because malleable means that we can change it. Once we become aware of it, there are things we can do to fix it, which is awesome, because we don't have to stay in this dark, sad place of like, oh, I'm just this way, and so I'll just always hate this group of people. No, we don't have to. And maybe even hate's too strong of a word. We might just have a subliminal kind of bias that makes us cross to the other side of the street if we see somebody walking our way, or, you know, that kind of like subconscious thing going on in your head. So what we get to do for this project is not only examine the bias in the case we're looking at, but we get to examine bias a little bit closer to home, which is kind of cool. So we're going to be reading an article called Where Bias Begins. This is a really cool psychological approach to this idea of bias, how our brains are wired and how we function. Very, very cool stuff. And then we move on to talking about culture and bias and justice. We talk about our prompt and case list. And then you're going to be viewing a couple PowerPoints, cultural analysis as a writing genre. We're going to be analyzing these two cultures, the bias culture and the victim culture, how they operate, who are members of that culture, and why they had this terrible clash. And once again, we'll review some logical fallacies just because they were great in trial by media, and logical fallacies are prevalent throughout life. So they also impact bias as well. So if you need to review your logical fallacies, we can do that this week. And then I've got a module tab called Library Time, and there is a Prezi in there, our fabulous librarian Molly Mooney put together with some help with research strategies. I highly recommend you click through there. She's got some great ideas on search terms, how to find the kind of stuff you're looking for. And the wonderful thing about our CBC librarians is that they are willing to meet with you and help you, especially in a virtual environment right now, you know, because of pandemics. So I've got linked in here how to get to the library, how to set up a session, whether it's over the phone or Zoom or through email, or they've even got a 24-hour texting kind of service, like an instant messenger that you can do through the browser, which is super cool. So all kinds of good things from the library. The library is awesome. It rocks. And Molly is the rockinest of all the libraries. If you've ever had the pleasure of meeting Molly, if you ever went to the library, she is super cool, guys. Like, when I grow up, I want to be Molly. Her hair is like neon blue, and she has the most incredible assortment of cat dresses. Like, I kid you not. She is the coolest. So if you need help, ask for Molly. She rocks. And then the last thing I want to draw your attention to as we go into next week, if you're really struggling in this class, you don't feel like you're going to be able to pass, first off, let me know. I really want to help you, right? So shoot me a message through Canvas. We can set up a Zoom session. We can talk about different strategies to help you be successful. But even after all that, if you want to withdraw, the 16th is the last day to withdraw from class with a W grade, I believe, instead of getting a 0. So if that's something that you need to do, please talk to me. I really want to help you. I want to help you be successful in this class so that you don't have to withdraw. But if you do need to, you might want to consider doing it by Monday, just so you have the W instead of a 0 score. And then we're going to start talking about annotated bibliographies next week, which sounds intimidating, but it's just like a research journal. It's just keeping track of what kind of things you've researched. So don't worry too much. It'll be fine. So this is what we're working on this week. I do want to just pop into our class real quick and show you some of the things we have here. Of course, is the prompt that you're turning in today. Hooray. And then we get to go into modules, and joy of all joys, we can close out project 2. Aha! And here's project 3. So we do have a recorded lecture. I highly recommend you take a look at that. Maybe tomorrow, today if you've got time, but I'm sure you're working on project 2. So tomorrow, Tuesday, something like that. Wednesday, what day is today? Doesn't even matter. It's 2020. So take a look at the recorded lecture. It is a 2-parter. Normally I try and keep these under 10 minutes, but this had so much information to address. So check that out. Good stuff here. We've got culture, bias, and justice, the PowerPoint version if you just want to click through that, but it's in this video. Cultural analysis talks about the genre of writing. That's here for you. Also our case list. I've got lots of good information on the case list, including hyperlinks to some sources for you. So that's all available here. You're welcome. And then we've got that list as a doc if you want that. Truth About Stereotypes, fabulous article we'll be reading. Highly recommend you consider using it for Project 3. And then if all this gets a little dark, I have a wonderful video for you. It's a musical video. You're welcome. Check it out. It's hilarious because this whole project is talking about ways that we're divided through bias. This song makes some really funny verses about ways that we can all be the same together because we hate all the same things, like warm toilet seats. Like, it's an awesome video. Watch it. It's great. And then here's the videos on the essay. You're going to be watching these later on this week. The prompt, the case list, and the outline. Take a look at that. I really help you with the cases, tell you a little bit more about those and kind of how it all functions. So check those out. There's some really fun ones in here. Really fun ones. And then we've got our outline, our prompt, thesis worksheet, how to cite a YouTube video, because there are a couple videos linked through your case list. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, if you want to cite some of them, I've got that citation guidance for you here. And then here's everything you're going to need to be successful for your annotated bibliographies. So how to find sources. This is a video where I walk you through putting together the annotated bibliography. Here's the prompt, and then here's a sample, which I highly, highly recommend you use. But that'll be something we talk about next week. So lots of good stuff coming our way. As always, you can take your papers to eTutoring or the CBC Online Writing Center. It's worth extra credit. You can take each project once for extra credit, but of course you can take it more times for more help. They're great folks, really willing to help you out. And then the last thing I want to talk about is our library time link or research support. Here's the link to the Prezi that you might find helpful. And then here is the link to live chat with one of our librarians. So if you're having a hard time finding sources, this is the place you're going to want to start. All right, lots of good stuff coming our way. You guys are all champs. I am so uplifted by the amount of work you've done, by the investment you've shown in this class. And I'm just so proud of all you've accomplished. I know we're only in week like 8. So we have a little ways to go, but you guys are just knocking it out of the park. Like, super kudos. I know this is a hard time to be doing education. It's a hard time to be doing anything. And you guys are just rocking it. So way to be awesome. Give yourself some kudos. Eat an extra chocolate that you stole from your children at Halloween. You know, whatever makes you happy. You guys are doing a great job. Hang in there. We'll get through this quarter together. And if you have any questions, reach out. I'm here to help.